The most dangerous enemy in your life is not outside you. It is the human mind you don't understand. My dear friends, many of you are intelligent, educated, hardworking, yet you still feel confused about people. You trust and get hurt, you help and get used, you love and feel manipulated, and you start asking quietly, why do people behave like this? Today I don't want to make you fearful of human nature. I want to make you aware, because awareness is protection and wisdom is freedom. Let me take you on a journey. 7 steps. Not to judge people, but to understand them and protect your peace. People often ask, how do I truly understand someone? And I tell them, don't watch how people behave when they need you. Watch them when they don't. In the beginning, human beings can be incredibly warm. They smile easily. They listen patiently. They praise generously. They make you feel important. Why? Because at that moment, you serve a purpose in their life. This is not always evil. This is human psychology. When someone needs your support, your skills, your emotional strength, your time or your position, their best behavior naturally comes forward. They become attentive because attention is beneficial. They become kind because kindness is useful. They become respectful because respect keeps access open. But life reveals its deepest truths only after the need is fulfilled. Once the help is taken, once the position is secured, once the emotional support is no longer required, once you are no longer useful in the same way, something shifts. The calls reduce, the gratitude fades, the effort disappears, and many people feel hurt at this stage. They ask, what did I do wrong? Most of the time, the answer is, nothing. You didn't change. The situation did. Dark psychology begins where convenience ends. Some people don't build relationships, they build arrangements. As long as the arrangement benefits them, the relationship feels alive. When the benefit is gone, the bond quietly dies. The mature mind does not become angry when this happens. Anger comes from expectation. Wisdom comes from observation. See, life is like a bridge. Some people are meant to walk with you only until the other side. When they reach their destination, they naturally let go. The pain comes when you thought they were meant to stay forever. Understanding this saves you from bitterness. Not everyone who leaves is bad. Not everyone who stays is good. But everyone reveals something. Watch carefully how people behave when they have nothing to gain from you. Do they still respect your time? Do they still speak kindly? Do they still show basic human decency? Or do they suddenly become distant, dismissive, or indifferent? That behavior is not accidental. That is the truth finally visible. Many people exhaust themselves trying to earn loyalty from those who only understand utility. They keep giving more, hoping the other person will appreciate them again. But appreciation that depends on usefulness is not appreciation, it is transaction. The wise learn one important skill here: emotional detachment without emotional damage. You don't need to confront everyone, you don't need to accuse anyone, you don't need to announce your disappointment, you simply need to step back and adjust your expectations. When someone shows you that their kindness had conditions, believe them, not with hatred, with clarity. Faith teaches us a powerful lesson here. Serve selflessly, but don't be attached to recognition. Give with love, but don't demand loyalty. Your peace should never be dependent on how others treat you after they are done with you. There is a deep freedom in this understanding. You stop personalizing behavior that was never personal to begin with. You stop questioning your worth because someone changed. You realize their actions speak about their inner state, not your value. And slowly something beautiful happens. You begin to invest your energy more wisely. You choose depth over dependency. You value sincerity over sweetness. You become kinder but not naive, more open but not unprotected. This awareness does not harden your heart. It strengthens your spine. Remember this quietly, without resentment. Some people walk into your life to take something, some walk in to give something, and a rare few walk with you, regardless of gain or loss. Learn to recognize the difference early. It will save you years of confusion, pain, and self-doubt. Understanding this one truth alone can change the way you see human nature forever. There is something very powerful that most people underestimate, and that power is silence. In a noisy world, silence feels uncomfortable, especially to those who are trying to control you. You see, manipulative minds survive on reactions. They don't need your agreement. They need your emotional response. Your anger gives them energy. Your explanations give them control. Your need to be understood gives them leverage. That is why some people provoke you intentionally. They say things not to communicate but to trigger. They question you not to understand but to destabilize. And the moment you react, a game begins. Silence ends the game before it starts. When you stop reacting, manipulative people feel exposed. They don't know where they stand. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know how to push your buttons anymore. That uncertainty terrifies them. Dark psychology relies on predictability. If they know you will defend yourself, they accuse. If they know you will explain, they confuse. If they know you will get emotional, they escalate. But when you stay calm, when you pause, when you don't rush to respond, their power collapses. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is awareness. Many people believe they must explain themselves to be respected. But in reality, the more you over-explain, the more you invite manipulation. A wise person understands this deeply. Those who truly respect you don't need long explanations. And those who want to misuse you won't be satisfied by any explanation. So why exhaust yourself? Silence protects your dignity. It keeps your emotions safe. It gives you time to observe instead of react. And observation is the birthplace of wisdom. When someone tries to guilt you, silence reveals their intention. When someone tries to dominate you, silence exposes their insecurity. When someone tries to provoke you, silence reflects their immaturity. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend your character. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. Your peace is more valuable than their approval. There is also something spiritual here. When you become silent, you hear your inner voice more clearly. And that inner voice is always wiser than the noise outside. Many conflicts escalate not because the issue is big, but because the ego is loud. Silence humbles the ego, both yours and theirs. It takes strength to stay silent when misunderstood. It takes maturity to stay calm when accused. It takes faith to believe that truth does not need shouting. And remember this: silence does not mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you choose the right moment and method to respond. A controlled response is power. An emotional reaction is surrender. Manipulators hate silence because silence cannot be twisted. Words can be misquoted, emotions can be exploited, but silence stands firm. Sometimes silence forces people to reveal more than your words ever could. They speak more, they expose themselves, they show their real intentions, and you learn wit, losing your peace. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to become composed. You can still be kind, you can still be compassionate, but you don't need to be accessible to emotional chaos. When you master silence, something beautiful happens. You stop feeling drained after conversations. You stop replaying arguments in your mind. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. Your energy stays with you, and the people who were feeding on your reactions slowly disappear. Not because you push them away, but because they no longer get what they came for. This is one of the greatest protections you can develop in life. Not louder words, not sharper arguments, but a calm, grounded silence that says, I am not available for manipulation. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strength. And once you learn this, you don't fear difficult people anymore, because you are no longer controlled by their noise. Many of the deepest wounds in life do not come from enemies. They come from people who say, I'm doing this because I care. This is where dark psychology becomes very subtle. Control rarely arrives with cruelty. It arrives with concern. It speaks softly. It smiles gently. I'm only saying this for your good. I worry about you. I don't think you can handle this. Let me decide. I know better. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to shrink. Real care expands you. False care cages you. A person who truly loves you wants you to grow stronger, wiser, and more independent. A person driven by insecurity wants you dependent, unsure, and constantly seeking their approval. Control disguised as care works by slowly eroding your confidence. First, they question your decisions. Then, they highlight your mistakes. Then, they remind you of your past failures. Not aggressively, gently, repeatedly, until you start doubting your own instincts. This is how manipulation feels safe. You are not shouted at, you are not threatened, you are simply guided away from yourself. They may discourage your dreams for your protection. They may limit your freedom for your safety. They may isolate you for your peace, but peace that costs you. Your voice is not peace, it is control. Dark psychology thrives where obedience is mistaken for love. One important question exposes the truth. Does this person empower me, or do they need me to remain small? Healthy relationships celebrate your independence. Unhealthy ones feel threatened by it. Watch carefully how someone reacts when you become confident, when you start saying no, when you start making your own choices. If their support turns into resistance, if their concern turns into criticism, if their love turns conditional, you are seeing their fear, not their care. And here is the painful part. People who control often don't realize they're controlling. Their insecurity convinces them that dominance is protection, that authority is love, that possession is care. But intention does not erase impact. You are allowed to protect yourself even from well-meaning control. Faith teaches us balance. Honor people, but don't surrender your discernment. Respect elders, but don't abandon your conscience. Listen to guidance, but don't silence your soul. God has given you intelligence not to outsource your life decisions to anyone else. When you begin to trust yourself again, control loses its grip. Manipulative care survives only where self-doubt lives. The moment you reclaim your inner authority, their influence weakens. This does not mean rebellion. It means alignment. Alignment with truth. Alignment with values. Alignment with your inner compass. You don't need to argue with controlling people. You don't need to expose them. You simply need to become emotionally self-sufficient. When you stop asking for permission to be yourself, control has nowhere to stand. And something interesting happens next. Those who genuinely care adapt. They respect your growth. They adjust their behavior. Those who only wanted control become uncomfortable. And slowly, distance appears. That distance is not loss. That distance is protection. Remember this always. Love that limits you is not love. Care that weakens you is not care. Concern that silences you is not concern. True care strengthens your wings. False care clips them. And when you learn to recognize the difference, you don't become fearful of people. You become free. One of the most painful realizations in life is this: some people don't hurt you with anger, they hurt you with guilt. Guilt is a quiet weapon. It doesn't shout, it whispers. After crossing your boundaries, they say, you're overreacting, you're too sensitive. That's not what I meant. Notice carefully. They don't address what they did, they address how you felt about it. This is dark psychology at its finest. When someone uses guilt, they flip the roles. The one who caused the pain becomes calm. The one who felt the pain becomes apologetic. Slowly you start questioning yourself. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe it's my fault. And just like that, your self-respect begins to erode. Guilt manipulation works best on good people, people with empathy, people with conscience, people who want harmony. That is why kind souls suffer the most in manipulative environments. A manipulator does not need to prove they are right. They only need to make you feel wrong. They remind you of past favors. They bring up sacrifices they made. They highlight everything they've done for you, not out of love but as leverage. I did so much for you. This is how you repay me. This is not generosity. This is emotional debt collection. True giving never keeps score. Only manipulation does. Faith teaches us something very important here. Gratitude should come from the heart, not from pressure. When gratitude is demanded, it becomes bondage. You must learn to separate guilt from responsibility. Responsibility is healthy. Guilt is corrosive. You are responsible for your actions. You are not responsible for someone else's emotional control. When someone makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, for saying no, for choosing yourself, that is not love. That is fear trying to control you. And here is a powerful truth. If setting a boundary makes someone angry, that boundary was necessary. Manipulators hate boundaries because boundaries end access. You don't need to argue with guilt. You don't need to justify yourself endlessly. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. The moment you stop explaining your boundaries, guilt loses its power. Calmly, firmly, respectfully. You can say, I understand how you feel, without surrendering how you live. That balance is wisdom. There will be moments when guilt makes you feel lonely, because walking away from manipulation often means walking alone for a while. But loneliness with self-respect is far healthier than company with self-betrayal. Over time, something shifts. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotions stabilize. Your confidence returns. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop carrying emotional weight that was never yours. And those who use guilt as control slowly lose influence over you, because guilt only works when you believe you deserve it. Remember this deeply. Your worth does not decrease because someone feels uncomfortable with your boundaries. Your character does not change because someone disapproves of your growth. When you free yourself from guilt manipulation, you reclaim your inner peace, and peace is the foundation of a powerful life. There is a truth about human nature that is uncomfortable, but liberating once you accept it. Not everyone around you wants you to win. Some people enjoy your company when you are struggling, when you are unsure, when you are seeking advice, when you are dependent. They encourage you then, they guide you then, they feel important then. But the moment you start rising, the moment your confidence grows, the moment you no longer need approval, something changes. Their encouragement becomes silent, their advice becomes criticism, their support becomes a comparison. This is not always hatred. Very often it is insecurity. Dark psychology does not always attack you openly. Sometimes it claps for you softly while hoping you don't go too far. Jealousy is rarely loud. It is subtle. It hides behind jokes. It disguises itself as concern. It pretends to be realism. Be careful. Don't dream too big. Not everyone succeeds. I'm Jay, being honest with you. Honesty that repeatedly discourages is not honesty. It is fear being projected onto you. Some people are comfortable when you shine, as long as you don't shine brighter than them. This is why growth feels lonely. Not because success isolates you, but because it reveals who was never truly on your side. Watch carefully who celebrates your progress without competition. Watch who feels inspired by your growth instead of threatened by it. People who genuinely care don't feel smaller when you grow. They feel proud, they feel motivated, they feel happy for you. But those who secretly compete with you feel exposed when you succeed. Your progress reminds them of their stagnation. And instead of working on themselves, they try to pull you back emotionally. They don't say stop, they say slow down. They don't say I'm jealous, they say you've changed. Yes, you have changed. You have grown. And that is not something to apologize for. One of the biggest mistakes sensitive people make is shrinking themselves to protect others' egos. They dim their light, they delay their dreams, they doubt their calling just to keep relationships intact. But relationships that require self-betrayal are not relationships. They are cages. Faith teaches us a profound lesson here. Your purpose was given by God, not by people, and no one else gets to vote on how brightly you live it. You don't need everyone's support. You need inner clarity. Protect your dreams quietly. Share your plans selectively. Celebrate your wins without guilt. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. This doesn't mean you become arrogant. It means you become grounded. You stay humble, but you don't stay hidden. You stay kind, but you don't stay small. As you rise, some people will naturally fall away, not because you rejected them, but because they could no longer walk at your pace. Let them go without resentment. Let them go without explanation. Let them go with peace, because the right people don't compete with you. They contribute to you. And when you finally accept that not everyone wants you to win, stop seeking validation, stop waiting for permission, stop delaying your destiny. You move forward calmly, faithfully, unapologetically. One of the clearest ways to understand human nature is this: listen less to what people promise and watch more what they repeat. Words are easy, patterns are honest. A person can apologize beautifully, they can cry sincerely, they can promise change with convincing emotion, but behavior has memory. Dark psychology often hides behind apologies. Not because the person feels remorse, but because they fear consequences. The apology is not meant to heal you, it is meant to reset the situation. And then the pattern returns. They hurt you, they apologize, they explain, they repeat. At some point, wisdom must speak louder than hope. Many good people stay trapped because they fall in love with potential. They believe the words, they wait for change. They give second chances, then third, then 10th, until self-respect quietly leaves the room. Forgiveness is spiritual, but tolerance of repeated harm is self-neglect. There is a difference between someone who is learning and someone who is looping. Growth shows progress, manipulation shows repetition. If someone truly wants to change, you will see effort even when no one is watching. You will see consistency even when it is inconvenient. You will see humility without defensiveness. But if change only appears after confrontation, if good behavior lasts just long enough to regain access, you are not witnessing transformation. You are witnessing strategy. Patterns expose intention. A manipulative mind knows how to sound convincing. It uses emotional language. It acknowledges your pain. It promises awareness. But the inner wiring remains unchanged. This is why watching behavior over time is so important. Faith teaches patience, but it also teaches discernment. Even in spiritual texts, we are reminded that wisdom is not blind kindness. It is intelligent compassion. You are allowed to forgive without continuing the same relationship. You are allowed to understand without staying. You are allowed to love from a distance. Consistency is the language of sincerity. If someone respects you only when you threaten to leave, that respect is not real. If kindness appears only after consequences, that kindness is conditional. A healthy relationship does not require constant reminders of boundaries. An unhealthy one pushes until you break. The moment you start noticing patterns instead of explanations, your clarity increases. You stop getting confused by emotional speeches. You stop being hypnotized by temporary improvement. You begin to trust your experience, and trusting your experience is powerful. You stop saying, maybe this time it will be different, and start saying, this is who they are, showing me they are. That shift changes everything. It doesn't make you cold, it makes you honest. You don't need to label anyone as bad. You don't need to attack their character. You simply acknowledge reality. And reality, once accepted, is peaceful. Patterns don't lie. They don't manipulate. They don't pretend. They quietly repeat until you finally see them. When you honor patterns over promises, you protect your time, your energy, and your heart. You stop giving unlimited access to those who have shown you limited integrity. And in that moment, you step into maturity. The final and most important realization is this: no amount of manipulation can control a person who is deeply aware of themselves. Dark psychology only works in darkness. Awareness brings light, and light changes everything. When you don't know who you are, people define you. When you don't trust your values, people override them. When you seek validation, people exploit it. But the moment you become rooted within yourself, manipulation loses its grip. Self-awareness is not arrogance. It is clarity. It means you know your strengths and your weaknesses. You know your values and your limits. You know what you will tolerate and what you will not. And because you know yourself, you don't need to constantly explain yourself. A person who is aware does not react impulsively. They respond intentionally. They pause before speaking. They observe before deciding. They choose peace over proving a point. This inner stability is deeply spiritual. Faith teaches us that when your inner world is aligned, the outer world cannot shake you easily. People may try to guilt you. They may try to control you. They may try to confuse you. But clarity is unshakable. When you know your worth, you stop bargaining for respect. When you know your direction, you stop getting distracted by opinions. When you know your purpose, you stop fearing disapproval. Awareness becomes your shield. You don't become suspicious of everyone. You become selective with your energy. You don't close your heart. You strengthen it. This is where true freedom begins. Because freedom is not the absence of difficult people. Freedom is the presence of inner strength. As your awareness grows, something interesting happens. Manipulative people feel uncomfortable around you, not because you confront them, but because you can no longer be controlled. They sense your boundaries without you announcing them. They feel your calm without you explaining it. They recognize that their tactics no longer work, and slowly they drift away. Not every separation is a loss. Some are divine protection. Faith reminds us that wisdom is a gift, but it must be practiced. Awareness is not developed in comfort. It is developed through experience, reflection, and courage. Courage to listen to your inner voice. Courage to walk away when needed. Courage to choose growth over familiarity. And when awareness walks with compassion, you become powerful without becoming bitter. You don't seek revenge. You don't carry resentment. You simply move forward, lighter, clearer, stronger. This is the highest victory over dark psychology. Not outsmarting others, but mastering yourself, because the strongest mind is not the one that controls people. It is the one that cannot be controlled. And when you live from that space, no darkness can follow you, because you are finally walking in light. And now let me leave you with a closing message that brings everything together. My dear friends, understanding the darker side of human nature is not meant to make you suspicious of the world. It is meant to make you strong enough to walk through it without losing yourself. Life will introduce you to many people. Some will teach you love, some will teach you limits, some will teach you lessons you never asked for, but deeply needed. Do not curse those lessons, they refined you. Every manipulation taught you awareness, every disappointment taught you discernment, every emotional wound taught you where your boundaries must live, and slowly, without realizing it, you became wiser. Remember this truth: God never allows clarity without pain, because clarity without pain would never be respected. When you learn to observe instead of react, when you learn to stay silent instead of explaining, when you learn to walk away instead of proving, you are no longer controlled by human psychology. You are guided by inner truth. Don't let your knowledge make you cold. Let it make you calm. Don't let your awareness make you proud. Let it make you grounded. The goal of life is not to outsmart people. The goal is to outgrow patterns that once controlled you. When you stop competing, stop explaining, and stop seeking approval, peace enters quietly, confidence follows naturally, and purpose becomes clear. Walk gently, think deeply, trust wisely, and never forget, the strongest person in the room is not the loudest, not the most clever, but the one who knows themselves. Because when you master self, no darkness outside can ever overpower the light within. Move forward with faith. Move forward with courage. Move forward with awareness. Your life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be consciously lived. My dear friends, always remember this one truth. Life is not about becoming smarter than others. It is about becoming truer to yourself. When your intentions are clean, your heart is anchored in faith, and your actions are guided by values, no dark psychology can shake you. People may test you, situations may try to break you, but when you walk with awareness and trust in God, every challenge becomes a lesson, every setback becomes protection, and every delay becomes preparation. Don't let human behavior harden your heart. Let it sharpen your wisdom. Stay kind but not naive. Stay humble but not silent. Stay faithful but not fearful, because when you choose integrity over impulse, truth over approval, and faith over fear, life always aligns in your favor. And remember, when things don't go your way, it doesn't mean God has left you behind. It means He is shaping you for something higher. Walk forward with courage. Stand firm in your values and trust this deeply. A life lived with awareness and faith can never be manipulated, only elevated.